warmth of winter, the city bus stop sat on the corner of 5th and Madison, where the wind always seemed to blow a little harder than anywhere else. Snow was falling steadily that December evening, and the streetlights cast a soft glow on the accumulating white powder. Traffic moved slowly past, headlights cutting through the winter darkness, while the few people still out hurried along the sidewalk with their collars turned up against the cold. Michael Chen was 38 years old, a high school teacher who'd spent the evening at the library preparing lesson plans for his students. He wore a gray knitted sweater that his sister had made him for Christmas 2 years ago, dark pants that were starting to show their age, and sturdy boots that had walked him through 7 winters. His dark hair was damp with melting snow, and he carried a worn leather bag filled with books and papers. He wasn't wealthy, but he had enough, and more importantly, he had a heart that his mother had taught him to keep open as he approached the bus stop. He noticed her right away, a woman sitting on the cold bench, her shoulders hunched against the wind. She was young, perhaps in her early 30s, with long blonde hair that fell in waves around her face. She wore a thin, olive-colored dress that seemed completely inadequate for the weather, and over it, a jacket that wasn't nearly warm enough for a night like this. Her feet were bare, except for a pair of delicate shoes, and she sat with her knees pulled up, trying to make herself small against the cold. What struck Michael most was the expression on her face. She wasn't crying, but there was something in her eyes that spoke of exhaustion that went beyond the physical, a weariness of the spirit. He'd seen that look before on the faces of students dealing with troubles at home, and it always moved him to action. He stopped a few feet away, not wanting to startle her. "Excuse me," he said gently. "Are you all right?" She looked up at him, and for a moment he saw something flash across her face. Wariness, perhaps, or maybe just surprise that someone had spoken to her. In a city of millions, people could sit right next to each other and never say a word. "I'm fine," she said, but her voice was tight, and even as she spoke, a shiver ran through her entire body. Michael hesitated. He'd been raised to mind his own business, but his mother had also taught him that sometimes the right thing to do was exactly what made you uncomfortable. He'd rather risk being intrusive than walk away from someone who needed help. "You don't look fine," he said, keeping his voice kind. "You look freezing, and if you don't mind my saying so, that dress isn't meant for December in the city." She glanced down at herself, as if only just remembering what she was wearing. There was a situation. I had to leave quickly." Michael's teacher instincts kicked in. He'd heard enough stories over the years to know that sometimes people ended up in difficult places for difficult reasons. He didn't need to know the details to know she needed help. "The bus won't be here for at least 20 minutes, he said. "Maybe longer with the weather, and that wind is only going to get colder." Without waiting for permission, he shrugged out of his wool coat. It was navy blue, well worn, but still warm, and it had seen him through countless winters. He held it out to her. "Here," he said simply. "Take this." The woman stared at the coat as if it were the most unexpected thing she'd ever seen. "I can't take your coat. You'll freeze." "I have a sweater," Michael said, "and I grew up in Minnesota. This is nothing compared to winters there. Please, take it." For a long moment, she didn't move. Then, slowly, she reached out and took the coat from his hands. As she wrapped it around herself, he saw her entire body relax, as if she'd been holding herself tense against the cold for so long she'd forgotten what warmth felt like. "Thank you," she whispered, and there was something in her voice that made Michael think these might be the first kind words she'd heard all day. He sat down on the bench beside her, keeping a respectful distance. The cold immediately seeped through his sweater, but he'd meant what he said. He'd endured worse. "Michael," he said. "Michael Chen. I teach history at Roosevelt High School." She looked at him with those tired eyes. "I'm Claire Morrison." There was a pause, as if she might say more, but she didn't. Michael didn't push. If his years teaching had taught him anything, it was that people shared what they needed to share when they were ready. They sat in silence for a while, watching the snow fall. A taxi drove past, spraying slush. Somewhere down the street, someone laughed. The city moved around them, indifferent to their small moment of humanity on a cold bench. "Bad day?" Michael asked gently. Claire let out a long breath that was almost a laugh. "You could say that. Bad day, bad week, bad month. Take your pick." "I've had a few of those," Michael said. "Teaching teenagers will give you plenty of them, too, but you keep doing it." "I keep doing it," he confirmed, "because every now and then you get through to someone. You see that spark of understanding in their eyes, that moment when something clicks into place, and that makes all the difficult days worth it." Claire was quiet for a moment. Then she said, That's actually beautiful, that you can find meaning in something so simple." "I don't know if it's simple," Michael said, "but it's real. I think that's what matters, finding something real and holding on to it." "Okay." She turned to look at him then, really look at him, and Michael noticed for the first time that her eyes were a clear blue, the color of the sky on a crisp winter morning. "Can I tell you something?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course. I run a company, a big one. We have offices in 12 cities and over 3,000 employees. I've spent the last 8 years building it from nothing into something that matters. Or at least, I thought it mattered." Michael listened, sensing that she needed to talk, needed someone to just hear her. "Today," Claire continued, "I was in a board meeting that went terribly wrong. There are people trying to push me out, people I trusted. And in the middle of it all, I got a call that my father was in the hospital. He had a stroke. I left the meeting right then, didn't even think about what I was doing. Just grabbed my purse and ran." Her voice was shaking now, and Michael saw her hands tighten around the edges of his coat. "I went to the hospital, stayed there for hours. He's stable now, but seeing him like that, so fragile, ... It made me realize how much time I've spent focused on the wrong things, building an empire, proving myself, winning. And, for what? I haven't been to dinner with my father in 6 months. 6 months. A tear rolled down her cheek, and she wiped it away quickly, as if embarrassed. "I left the hospital to clear my head, started walking without any real destination. And then it hit me all at once. How tired I am, how alone I am. I have everything I thought I wanted, and I've never felt more empty." Michael understood that feeling. He'd had moments in his own life when success and fulfillment seemed like two different things entirely. "It sounds like you've been carrying a heavy load for a long time," he said quietly. "I have," Claire admitted. "And the worst part is, I thought I had to. I thought that's what strength looked like. Doing everything yourself, never showing weakness, never asking for help." "But that's not strength," Michael said gently. "That's just isolation, dressed up as independence." Claire looked at him, and something in her expression shifted. "You know, in the past 8 years, I've had hundreds of meetings with hundreds of people. Business partners, investors, consultants. Everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. But you," she paused, "you gave me your coat in the snow. You didn't ask who I was or what I could do for you. You just saw someone who was cold and needed help." "That's just being human," Michael said. "You'd be surprised how rare that is in my world." They fell into silence again, but it was a comfortable silence now, the kind of quiet that exists between people who've shared something meaningful, even if they've only just met. "Can I ask you something?" Claire said after a while. "Sure. Do you like your life? Your teaching, your students, all of it. Are you happy?" Michael thought about the question, really thought about it the way he'd want his students to think before answering. "I don't know if happiness is the right word," he said slowly. "Some days are hard. The pay isn't great, and sometimes I wonder if I'm making any difference at all. But yes, I like my life. I like knowing that I'm doing something that matters, even if it's in small ways. I like going to sleep at night knowing I showed up for people who needed me. That feels good. That feels right. Claire nodded, as if he'd confirmed something she'd been thinking about. That's what I want, she said softly. That feeling of rightness. I can't remember the last time I felt that way. Maybe, Michael suggested gently, it's time to think about what would make you feel that way. Not what looks successful to other people, but what feels meaningful to you. Before Claire could respond, the bus appeared around the corner, its lights cutting through the snow. As it pulled up to the stop, Claire stood, still wrapped in Michael's coat. Michael stood too, brushing snow from his sweater. Your coat, Claire said, starting to take it off. Keep it, Michael said. You need it more than I do. You can return it some other time if our paths cross again. Claire held the coat close. I don't even know how to thank you. You've given me more tonight than you know. No thanks needed, Michael said with a smile. Just promise me you'll go easy on yourself, whatever why.